point, we ask that you please rise for the presentation of colors by the Austin Police Department Color Guard. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Please have a seat. At this point, I would like to introduce the Thorp family. We are joined today with daughter June Thorp Roddy, her husband Ray, their grandsons Brent, Bruce, and his wife Dee, their great-grandsons Matthew and Dustin, today to honor a great humanitarian and Austinite, Chief Boss Thorp. At this point, I would like to introduce former Director of the Austin Parks and Recreation Department, Mr. Beverly Sheffield.
We're doing today to honor one of Austin's finest. And it's so good to see you and your family. I remember your dad in a very special way. The most special way I remember him is at Barton Springs. He loved Barton Springs. You know, if anyone likes Barton Springs, that's just about the bestest thing they can do with their life. But boy, nothing like it. That's the reason why I'm still here. But I'd like to give you a little bit of background on you know, he started out in life, his daddy called him Boss Hoss Thorp, Boss Hoss. Boss Hoss. And later on in life, he was smart enough to take the Hoss off because he didn't want to be thought of as being a chief of police of one Hoss, police department. And he was a second generation Austinite. His parents had come here, and grandparents had come into this county, even would make him third generation. They came in when we were still a republic, the Texas Republic. They settled here right in Travis County, so he is really a homegrown boy. He was born in 91, and died in 1975, which means he was 84 years old at his death. He lived in Hyde Park. Where I started my career in the Recreation Department at Shipe Playground in Hyde Park. What a great place that is for this community. During World War I, he served admirably in our armed services. He went in as a private and came out as a first lieutenant. And in the early 20s, after the war, he got real interested in baseball and was quite a baseball player. Matter of fact, he was titled the King of Strikeout Kings. And I wish he was around today because he played with the University of Texas. He pitched a doubleheader, 2 games, and without a run. Pitched them out. Now that's pretty good when you can have an arm that can go for 2 games and then strike them all out or get them all out in that period of time. So he was really quite a baseball player. In 1922, he was down in Port Arthur, and they got him to get mixed into the police department down there, and that's where he learned his work and his specialty in the art of identification, fingerprinting. And that was our first sort of scientific way of being able to distinguish one person from another. He was destined to come back home. And in 1926, the late Harry Nolan, who was on the city commission, and this was just before we had a city council form of government in Austin, and he was the police commissioner, and he knew about Lost Thorp being so good with his fingerprinting work, and he wanted to start this sort of a bureau in his own department, and so he called him back to start this in Austin. And in 1928, he was appointed the chief of police because of a chief who was killed in action. He served as police chief for 30 years, 1928 to 1958, and retired in 1961 because after he left the police department, he was made assistant director of public safety to give him a chance to earn some credits for Social Security. And that's the way they did. He was on the retirement fund with the police department, but they wanted to give him a chance to earn some credits for Social Security. He was held in such high esteem by his colleagues and by citizens of Boston that when they had a retirement banquet for him and some 300 people attended, they gave him a little gift, and he began to unwrap it. Customarily, they gave a watch or something like this, but there was a little model automobile, and there was the keys to it. So right outside the door, they had a key that they were going to give him. A new automobile. And of course, there were many important dignitaries at this time at the banquet. In the middle 50s, the Civitan Club built a Little League baseball park on the Sand Beach Reserve on really a little piece of land there that was called Harmon Park. And they got it started, and then they wanted to get out of it, and they gave it to the police association. And we had just a little bit to do with it in our recreation department to get the police department interested in, the association interested in operating the Little League at that place. And so they took it over and they got it named Thorp Field. There it was, and when they had that dedication, I remember that night with all the dignitaries and all the wonderful people of Austin, Tom Miller and all of them that got down there to wish him well. They widened Highway 35 and added a second bridge across it, and that just took out that field, which is really right on a park. And after that, they moved this field over to, on the east side of the Sand Beach Reserve, right across from Fiesta Gardens. And things happened in there, and it just kind of, names changed, and we didn't have a chance to carry on the tradition of the Boss Thorp Field. And so we found this place here, the city did, and through a lot of interested people and working on it, decided that this would be the field we would dedicate in honor of the late Boss Thorp. Thank you.
First, I want to thank Jude and her husband, boys, for allowing me to be a small part of this celebration here today. It takes me back to another one about 38 years ago when we dedicated that field that Beverly Sheffield talked about down there under I-35. I was happy to be there, and we were struggling trying to get that league going. We had the full support of our chief of police, Boss Thorp, since he was an old baseball pitcher way back, and he was known, Beverly didn't know this, but he was known as the Iron Man. He pitched, I heard the story a little different from Beverly. I heard that he pitched one game right-handed and the second game left-handed. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but he won both games anyway. Anyway, when I think about that dedication that day with Mayor Tom Miller, Tom thought a lot of Boss Thorp. They was good buddies. And then later, when Ed Knable built the ballpark there next to the City Coliseum, Boss had a box there, and the mayor had a box. Well, I think I was the head of the motorcycle squad those days, and we knew that we had to have a parking space out there for the mayor and had to have one for the chief, sir. So every night they played a home game here. Boss was sitting there behind home plate, watching every pitch. Mayor Tom Miller was sitting up there. I don't know whether he was watching Boss or the ball game, but they both enjoyed it. And we all hated to see that the Austin Pioneers, I think they were known in those days. Or maybe the Senators, I don't remember. We saw a mini ball game there, and I'll guarantee you, if they was here, and we wanted to find the chief of police, we'd go up to the ballpark, and there he was. We were to find him. Anyway, after that, you know, in this day and time, we hear a lot said about role models. Well, I had two role models in my history. One of them was my father, and the other was Boss Thorp. I spent about 18 years in North Texas, a little town up in North Texas. When I graduated high school, I came to Austin to try to go to the University of Texas. Well, this was right on the tail end of that depression, as you all know, in the 30s. I got out of high school in 33, and I came to Austin. And about a year later, I was working about a year getting that money to get here. But when I got to Austin, I had a few part-time jobs. One of them was in the Capitol. Jimmy Allred was the governor. He was from my hometown. And that job played out. Basically, I had to drop out of the university, and I heard about that time that they were going to hire a police officer. That was unusual to put on any policeman back in those days. They just didn't have any money. And I kind of wanted to be a lawyer way back there. I was able to graduate from law school, but never did get into law school. So I go down to the police department. Tom Monroe was there. He was secretary for the chief. And I told him, I said, you want to know what I was doing there? And I said, well, I'd like to have an application for the police officer. He said, well, you got to see the chief to get that. I said, okay, but what I have to see the chief? So I waited about 15, 20 minutes. Sure enough, the chief came to the door and invited me in like I was somebody. So I went in and sat and talked to the man. I guess about 30 minutes he did the talking, and I did the listening. But he told me pretty soon after I got in there that the Lord gives you two eyes and one mouth. And he said, you'll learn a whole lot more listening than you will if you talk. But I still got to talk about this man. So, as I say, I was barely 21 years old, and I went to work for him. I was lucky. I was one of the 5 that they hired to replace those motorcycle officers who went to the Department of Public Safety. He had a good friend called L.G. Ferry, who was at that time head of the Highway Patrol. And we didn't have a police academy in Austin at that time. We later got one, many years later. The boss was able to swing it with Chief Ferry for us 5 rookies to go through that Highway Patrol school. And I think whatever success I had in all those years that I was a police officer, 41 to be exact, I think Boss Thorp had the opportunity to go to that Highway Patrol school. And then I met Colonel Garrison, and I met Colonel Spear, Liv McLaughlin, and a lot of people that I admire been in law enforcement for 45 years. And when I went to work for Boss, he was my role model. He was kind of like my father. He came up during that depression, and he was interested in the youth of the city. And that's, we all know that, the things that he did, and everybody knows him. That was always foremost in his mind, promoting things that was good for the youth, because he said someday they will be your leaders in this city. He was right. And the elite ballpark we had down there under the bridge, I saw young Mexican Americans, I saw young colored people, boys that we worked with. I saw them go back to school or stay in school and play baseball at that park. And later, they aspired to be police officers. And a lot of them are about ready to retire down there now. Some of them have retired, and they've contributed a lot to this city. Those kids that we taught to play baseball or helped play baseball. Beverly didn't tell you, but when we first got that park going, Bill Sturgeon was president of the association back in 1956, I think. We didn't have any lights down there, and that's lucky to have a ballpark. The policeman mowed the grass, and we got the ballpark ready to go. About a year or so later, when I knew an old boy over in East Austin that he'd come to Austin Covers with Lake Construction Company. His name is E. Stussy. You may know him. We moosed some telephone poles off of him. He hauled them down there, and we put up these lights. And then we started playing night baseball. The parents of those kiddos down there said that they had a good excuse for not showing up daytime because they had to work. But later on, we got the parents down there, and we got them interested in coaching some of those leagues. And it contributed a lot to their future. Back many years that I spent with the police department, the longer I stayed, the more I admired Boss Thorp. There's 2 words I'll always remember that he told me to remember. He says, honesty and integrity. You're going to make police work your lifetime. He says, you've got to be honest, and you've got to do right, and you've got to set good examples for the kids in this town. He contributed so much to the city of Austin through his police department. Boss first, he was a family man. He loved his family. He was a little disappointed in June. He kind of wanted a boy, but June turned out all right. Later, she gave him 2 wonderful grandsons. I enjoyed for years hearing him talk about those 2 boys, Bruce and Brent. I enjoyed listening to him, especially since one of them was named Bruce. But they were little fellas last time I saw them. I saw them both today. It was so nice to see them again. And any success that I had with the police department, I attributed to R.D. Boss Thorp. He was indeed my boss, and I was proud that I worked with him and for him for 30 years. That's the best 30 years of my life. June, thank you again. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vick. At this point, I'd like to invite up Miss June Thorp Roddy to do a special presentation to Dr. Joe Kupak of Austin High.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Governor, Bruce, and the Parks and Recreation Department in general, and Linda Tyler in particular, with the camera. Dr. Kupak, you said the most today. It's good to see you. Here is this is what your school and Stephen F. Austin signed by chairman of the licensing. It's also signed by Ann Ridley, who's the governor at the time. We worked on this quite a while. But anyway, thank you. Thank you. Oh, sure.
I'd like to take a moment just to really thank the Thorp family and those of you who have gathered here. I didn't know Boss Thorp, but I've heard a lot of things about him today, and I have to acknowledge that he was a hero for this many people to turn out and for the testimony that we've heard. He was a man that we all either did look up to or can look up to. But I know the young men that are standing back here, the young men that work out here, the young men that play here, the coaches that work with them, and the families that come to this place to watch them. And I can think of no finer tribute to a man than to name a baseball field where young men like these and those who will come after them, their families and friends gather to play baseball. So on behalf of the faculty, the students, and the staff at Stephen F. Austin High School, not only do I accept, but I thank you deeply for your gift.
think that pretty much wraps it up right there. That's about as good a song as you could have asked for. For those of you that would like to join us, we're going to go out for the official unveiling of the sign out towards the street directly behind us. For those of you that don't want to make the short trip out there, you can stay right here. We're going to have few refreshments after the unveiling of the sign. We do thank you very much for coming out, and at this point we're going to make our way out to the street, please. Ready, guys? Let's make it official. If you'd like to join us for some refreshments, we have them over by the first base dugout. And, thank y'all very much.
I'll be there.